Hey guys, this week we're reacting to all the chaos and drama from the clash at the Coliseum, the first race of the season. We're going to talk about the rules changes this week and much more. But at the end of the day, we're just here for the speed. What's up, guys? We are the Here for the Speed podcast. I'm joined by Jeff.
Hey.
Matt.
What's up?
And DJ.
Hi there.
We just finished watching the race.
I threw you off, bro.
Oh, man. So we just finished watching the race. I think it started pretty exciting, but quickly devolved into something else entirely. What are you guys' thoughts? We're just going to open it up with an open section. We'll just kind of talk about it. What you think, man. Jeff?
Yeah, I totally agree. It started off actually really exciting. It was a really good race overall, but I felt like once you got to lap, like I would say almost when you hit the halfway point, but specifically lap 70, 69 to go, 70 to go, 69 to go, that's when it really started to just become a total cluster, man. It was just terrible. Like, I mean, you couldn't go 5 laps without a caution. They weren't counting the caution laps, which I thought personally was a mistake. But
I will say that. Let me butt in there. I mean, based off of last year's race, we had 5 cautions, and it wasn't an issue in the last, there's a long green flag section there at the end of the race that would make you think it's a non-issue. But we heard a couple people say that this could potentially be a wreck fest, and that definitely came out to be true.
Yeah, just taking a look even at last year's clash, they're totally different races. These two races, definitely. Last year, this year, not even the same. But ideally, I enjoyed the race. It was a longer race.
Yeah.
I did personally enjoy it, just, coming off of that break, getting back into racing, seeing the tempers flare. Obviously, guys got hot and guys got heated. It was a little bit of a cluster, but they cleaned it up kind of more towards the end. It was kind of like that 20 lap span where I think drivers are driving with a lot more ego than respect. And you could definitely see it in some of those guys.
I was kind of reflecting back thinking I was expecting to see a lot of tempers off the track, but as I've kind of thought over the last 10 minutes, it seemed like there was a lot of payback given, so maybe everybody got theirs back. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
No, I thought it was a good race for the most part, but I thought that was probably one of the longest 150 lap races.
On barely a half mile track.
It's a super small track. This should have been an hour race if everything went pretty clean, and it was 2.5 hours,
pretty much
at least.
Yeah.
If you don't, and then if you add the halftime break in there, so it was a long race.
And like I said, it was kind of right in between that 20, 30 laps. It was just every restart was a lap. And it felt like they took forever to get the caution laps and red flag laps cleaned up. I don't know what the holdup was. TV-wise, you couldn't really see it, but it just felt like a long time.
Well, the part of the problem I felt, I guess it wasn't a problem depending on who you are if you like that kind of stuff. But going back to what Matt was saying about driving with more ego than respect, it wasn't like people were just bumping into each other and, sorry, man, and they spin out. It was one of those Kevin Harvick, otherwise known as Kyle Harvick, according to the intro dude from the driver introduction guy. I don't even know who that was, to be honest. But, you saw Kevin Harvick give it to a couple people throughout the race, and it was intentional too. He was not, trying to turn that car and just spun a couple people out on a couple different occasions for bumping into them. And
they were definitely testing the rear end of those cars, see how much they could take.
Making sure they work.
They were testing
it was
for
crazy.
Sure.
I think where it draws a line of just evolving into chaos is you just see a chain reaction of 4 or 5 cars, and it's just they're going to be stacked up, and a guy 4 cars back causes a wreck to the guy 4 cars ahead of him, and it just seemed what's going on here?
And to some extent it made it harder for the drivers because you had some drivers that were I don't know who it is, but I want to pay him back, and it's who? It's even the spotters I don't know, it was either this car or this car. It was one car got hit, another car hit another car.
Said it. They aired it on TV.
Blaney's
they were
who is it?
Who is it? He's was it the 1 or the 11? And he's I think it was both. He's well, I'm going to get them both.
Only it's that easy.
is a perfect representation of LA traffic.
Maybe that was what they were going for. If so, they nailed it.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, sometimes it really did look
Actually,
like it.
now that you think about it, maybe that's what they're going for, because you got to figure everyone there is like, man, I know I understand this. This is for them. That was a Sunday drive.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they did on the way to the track.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but I mean, I think overall, I think it was a good race. I think it drug on. I think the biggest reason that it was a problem was the fact that they didn't count the caution laps. I think if they had counted the caution laps, it would have obviously gone through.
But then do we just wreck all the way into a green white checker?
And that's the down.
And then we just do that 5 times.
Yeah, but then the other side of it, and they can't change the rules mid-race, or they very much shouldn't. But I think they had good intentions, and they kind of saw what it turned into, and they're like, all right, 2.5 hours for 150 laps
on a quarter mile.
Yeah. Quarter mile.
13-second laps.
Though I think the only time I've seen them change rules mid-race was the first Bristol dirt race, where they went from double file to single, and I was like, that was a little.
The only other one I've seen is there's those. Which one was it? Was it last year or the year before, where it was nighttime at a track that didn't have lights? I don't remember which track it was, but there was one fairly recently where they were like, yeah, it's supposed to be 10 to go, but they decided to make it 5 to go or something like that.
They
like cut 10 laps off
30 something to go, and they reduced the laps.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's one way.
At least
you're
getting a checkered flag there.
Yeah,
I kind of get it.
It was that's just so weird.
Because when you draw the line of a caution there, but I mean, so if I go back and review, I think the heat races were perfect. The right distance, right amount of cars. They kept them moving in between, like they came up quickly. You get a quick commercial break, and by the time you come back on, you're ready to go green. I thought that was great. Yes. The last chance qualifiers, tell me if you guys agree. I think the last chance qualifiers were about 25 laps too long. Yes. They should have been about the same distance.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree.
No, it was because you went from how long were the actual heat races?
25.
Yeah, they were 25.
Yeah. And the qualifiers were 50
to go to the 50, and then I felt like the in between the last chance qualifiers to the actual start of the race was like an eternity, because there was really nothing going on the broadcast other than just them talking. Which, I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool to talk about, but not for an hour and a half.
I've been listening to them talk since like 4 p.m. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot. No, I thought there was a few things that during the race that I thought were a little sketch. For sure. The last lap qualifiers not being able to refuel before the main event. That seemed a little weird because
we saw a couple cars run out of fuel.
They literally ran out of fuel.
Yeah, it was,
I didn't think that was supposed to happen.
And Gilliland, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I think they should definitely look at. You shouldn't run out of gas if you can't refuel.
I'd be curious to see if somebody compiles actually how many laps they ran.
Yeah, right.
Like 150 laps counted, but how many did they actually run? I mean, it has to be, well over 200.
Well, you figure if they had the last chance qualifier, that's 50.
I'm talking about just the main event.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But I mean, if you figure those guys ran their qualifying, then their last chance qualifiers, that's 75 laps just in those two, plus the 200 and something. I mean, these guys were running probably close to 300 laps by the time you figured all the different, pace laps and everything, getting ready for all the different things. So, I mean, that's a lot not to refuel.
Yeah, the caution laps that didn't count, I guess. Yeah, kind of weird.
Okay, well, if anybody doesn't have any other comments on the race, we'll move to the next section of our podcast, our most impressive / disappointing drivers of the week. We will start off with Matt. What do you got?
All right, so taking a quick look at it, I think one of the most impressive that I had, at least for qualifying, was Haley.
Definitely.
I thought he ran a fantastic qualifying. He ran great in his heat races, and he really kind of put the show out there. I was kind of expecting it from last year's. Granted, they were 2 different races, but he showed a lot of promise last year, and he definitely came with some vengeance. Most disappointing during qualifying was actually Truex. I thought Truex messed up a lot. I didn't see him doing too much when it came to qualifying. But looking at the actual race, I think Ryan Preece really surprised me. When it came to running laps, he had great exit out of the turns. Like, he was able to get on it more than anyone else, at least on the short runs. He was able to put the pedal to the floor and just kind of.
You could say he was here for the speed.
Yeah, I guess you could.
All right, you got to get that little product placement in there.
Most disappointing for the race, I definitely thought was Chase Elliott. I think he struggled a lot. I think he took a lot of damage in the heat races, and then he was in the qualifying races. Like he got ran a lot, so I think that really contributed to him not being able to perform as well as some of his colleagues. Because Hendrick, thank you. Hendrick Motorsports, I think they finished, 3, 5, and 7? Like they were all up there. They were all at least within the top 7 or 8.
I mean, but even the way you see the way Elliott unloaded off the truck, he was way off the pace. He struggled through all 3 practice sessions. And I mean, they never got faster, ran his heats, didn't make the heat. Ran his qualifier and kind of barely made it. Really, I mean, it was not an impressive performance whatsoever.
When on the flip side, you look at someone like Truex, who really struggled during qualifying, and then boom, wins the race.
Yeah,
I mean, the changes you have to do, the changes you have to adapt to. Just Elliott, I think he just missed it on a lot of those, for sure.
For me, most impressive, Austin Dillon. I think he just was. I almost like we have this joke with us, like it was that Kyle Busch, there's like, Kyle Busch simulator engaged, because man, that guy will get on a mission and just run through the field. And so we have this kind of joke going back to old school NASCAR heat days, where you go in for a pit stop and you just suddenly are just flying around people. And I kind of felt like that rubbed off on Austin Dillon this week, because man, Austin Dillon just was moving through the field. So I'd say I got to pick him for most impressive. As far as most disappointing, I think the obvious one obviously is Chase Elliott, for pretty much every reason, Matt, for the same things you said. I wouldn't say other than, I mean, maybe there is, maybe you guys will have some other options, but I mean, I wouldn't say there's anybody that's disappointing other than him, because everyone pretty much did the same.
I'll be honest. I think the whole field was a little disappointing. I think at one point Mike Joy said every car has spun out tonight.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it just depends. So Chase Elliott would have to be my most disappointing, just because that's not the level that we expect out of him.
So my most impressive is also Austin Dillon. One, he showed a lot of speed. I think RCR as a whole came out and kind of flexed a muscle this weekend. But really, the biggest thing for me is nobody took a beating on their rear bumper like he did from Bubba Wallace, and somehow kept that thing straight all the way until Bubba got him really loose, and then Austin Dillon repaid the favor a little more harshly.
What does Joey say?
And then my most disappointing is actually probably Denny Hamlin. He was really fast. He was really good. But it seemed like something happened. He lost a lot of speed in that car, and then he just happened to be in the weeds pretty much the rest of the race. He just seemed to be in a lot of trouble, a lot of beating and banging. He seemed to be a culprit of some of that, and just not just definitely not a victim, but just definitely a part of just the chaos. And I think we kind of saw him lose his cool a little bit. I know he got spun by Ross Chastain, which probably didn't help. So he got spun twice at least, right? So, but just the way he just seemed to lose his cool. And as a veteran guy that's probably going to carry the banner, it's either him or Martin Truex carries the banner for JGR this year. I think I expect more out of a veteran guy to set the example for a race like this that starts tiptoeing into devolving into chaos.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of good options for most impressive. There was a lot of people that surprised me as a whole. Like you said, AD and Priest. I think mine's actually Truex, just for the simple fact that, I mean, obviously he had a rough start to the day. He had not the best qualifying, not the best heat races and all this and that. And so coming into the main event, he kind of came in with he just had the right mojo flowing with him, and he found his way up front and kind of was able to hold that last 20-25 laps there. And I think this is what they needed for that team. They had a terrible year last year. I mean, it was just an atrocious year considering they're a top tier team in top tier equipment, and he's a known winner. So it's one of those things like to not have a win last year and to just have a terrible season and to come out swinging like this, I think that was pretty impressive. For my disappointing, I agree with Denny Hamlin. I think someone who is also kind of stuck in the weeds and kind of a purveyor of chaos in that environment too is by
Jeff,
far.
That was a big word.
That was nice.
That was.
Can't even spell that.
Purveyor of chaos.
You went to college, didn't you?
I am in college.
There we go.
Still, yeah.
It's showing.
Definitely Kevin Harvick. He was also kind of, he was driving with an ego, as we mentioned before, and he was driving with some hate behind there, and
I feel like he caused a lot of incidents.
yeah,
I saw a lot of
it was
His camera was being used a lot.
it was the Kevin Harvick and Hamlin show as far as the chaos. I mean, it was just one of those things that was kind of
Yeah, you got to throw Chastain in there for at least one.
well for one, but I mean, hey, that's
Wouldn't be a NASCAR race
That's the,
anymore if
I
Chastain
thought
wasn't involved.
Chastain ran a relatively clean race to his normal antics.
By
you
his
know?
standards,
he did.
By his standards, yes, this was a very calm race for him.
He's bringing back the Don't Give a Freak tour for the 2023 season. I
It
guess.
took all about 15 laps for that to start. Matt, obviously being our local RFK fan representative,
It was a rough day. It was a rough day.
No, I mean,
I am
you wanted
2
to
for
bring that
2.
up. Yeah, we didn't
2
even,
for 2, just expecting RFK to just say, we're not about the clash. We don't care about it. We're just going to go to Daytona.
We don't
because,
care
man,
anyway.
I don't know, man. I mean, for both of the cars to be sent packing, like that's sad. That's
What's
just
even
truly
more sad is the fact that it's literally in LA. So they literally traveled all the way out there
And they had
to
beautiful
run.
cars. The
2
schemes
heat
were
races.
great on the cars. I thought it was great, but they couldn't get past their heat races, the
pull it together.
provisionals. They couldn't do it.
I mean, honestly, they didn't even make my disappointing driver of the week because I kind of forgot they were even showing up.
Exactly.
And they were so. What's crazy is they finished the year strong. And we talked about last week, like, man, RFK might do something, but this is a disappointing start. Now, I think we can all expect, Roush engines and RFK cars to show up to Speed Weeks in 2 weeks and probably put on a show. They swept the duels last year, excuse me. So I think maybe, we'll see what they do at Speed Weeks. But yeah, this was not a
They
good
sent 'em home.
showing, man.
Gone.
Yeah.
Adios.
There
They're
was a
gone.
long
Yeah, it was
way to
like-
go to run 25 laps and be said,
Yeah.
well, I guess 50 if you count last chance qualifier, but it was not a good showing at all.
I was going to throw this in here. I think kind of looking back a little bit more at the race, I think I really enjoyed the heat races more than the actual race.
Oh, agreed.
I think the heat races
They were
had
more
a little
exciting
bit
for
more,
sure.
Well, I would say the first half of the clash was great. I thought the first half was great.
Yeah.
But the chaos of the second half, it was just like, it just kept like, oh, man, it's just too
I
much.
don't know. It just felt like when Harvick kind of snuck in and got that 5th spot in heat race. I want to say it was for heat race 2. It was just like there was just certain aspects in at least the first 3 heat races that I was like, this is gonna be something a little wild. Like this is gonna be really entertaining.
I think it's
to
definitely more
watch these on
exciting to
through.
watch a guy kind of beat and bang his way to get into the show versus a guy in 20th, wreck 19th.
Yeah, 100%,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and then
That
if
makes
it
a
was
lot more
once or
sense.
twice, no big deal. But it was just, what do we have? 16 cautions? How many was
Yeah.
it?
16
I
compared
mean,
to
that's
5 left.
crazy.
For again, what you were at the one race? Was it Darlington that had the most in NASCAR?
Yeah, it's like 2000.
But that was only what 17, 18?
It was like 17, but it was a 500-mile race.
Yes, this was 150 laps around a quarter-mile track.
Yeah, I can't do math that fast, but that's not many
I'm not
miles.
doing the math because I'm terrible at it. But still,
40-mile race.
the point is that's
Well, I guess it
insane.
depends if you count the non-counted lap.
Oh,
It was like 40 miles of green flag racing.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
it's terrible if you start counting it. It's so yeah, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad race. It's just like it drug on there at the end.
Matt bust out a calculator. 37.5 green flag laps. 37.5 miles of green flag racing. I mean,
They
that's
ran out of gas.
and they ran out of gas.
To put that into perspective, that's like us driving to
More than
Orlando.
one car ran out of gas.
That's crazy. You just blew my mind right there. Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
and
a little further.
And I can do that without breaking the law in 35 minutes. So
without breaking the law.
Just to put that into perspective.
That is kind of crazy, man.
all right, well, we're wrapping that segment up. We'll move to our next. So this week we had a bunch of news come out. Always the week before the start of the season, you get a bunch of rules package updates, just car updates, all kinds of stuff. So we'll just rotate these. I got about a dozen, maybe 10 items that I want to go through, and we'll just each probably give a sentence of why we like it or maybe why we don't like it. Number one, I mean, probably the most important to us. The Hail Melon is now illegal. DJ, tell me what you think.
Well, being the resident Chastain fan, I will say that I'm okay with this. I understand it. They needed to do something. They needed to address it somehow. But I don't like the idea of having a rule for the sake of having a rule. Like it's like we're having to govern this when in reality it should just be don't do that crazy stupid move because Chastain, like he's gonna do just stupid things that just work out. And I don't like the idea. I'm going a lot longer than one sentence, but sorry. I like I said, I understand why NASCAR did it. I don't necessarily like it, but I also understand it. So that being said, I'm okay with it. Like I get it.
Yeah, our answers may be a little longer because this move is particularly close and dear to our hearts. So I like it for two reasons. One, because it was the most epic move I've ever seen racing in my time of watching live races, and it'll go down in legend now forever. I mean, 30 years from now, this will be the Earnhardt pass in the grass. You know, this is going to be what we'll be telling our kids about, maybe our grandkids. So I think that's super cool. It'll be legend. It's written in stone forever. Trackhouse said they're going to save the car
forever.
Yeah. Trackhouse is going to save the car. They're going to preserve it as is off the racetrack. And then the other reason why I like it, I didn't like it at first, and then I heard a great explanation why. Because if somebody gets spun out ahead of him and he hits him about 140 miles an hour at T-bone, it's a horrible situation. We were looking at like another Ryan Newman where he got T-boned. Obviously, he was upside down, but it was a massive impact, and we don't need that. So for the safety aspect, I can't agree more. What do you think, Jeff?
No, I agree for the most part. My thing is like I'm kind of in the middle on this. I'm not gonna lie. I agree for the most part, but if I had to play a little bit of devil's advocate, it's like how often are you really gonna find yourself in situations where you're even able to do that? Like outside of that Martinsville kind of layout. Like there's not a lot of tracks you could use.
Martinsville's the only track that I think this move would have even worked at.
Yeah, so it's like one of those like I mean
maybe Bristol.
You could
I don't think so. I think the banking's too high.
Yeah, you're moving anyways, right?
I mean, and that's the thing.
Darlington. But like
I mean Larson tried it. It didn't
Richmond.
work. Was it Larson that tried that a couple years ago?
Yeah, and it did not work.
It didn't work.
That's what he ran out of steam before. He definitely got to Hamlin, but he didn't get past him. So I think Martinsville's it. Martinsville, I think, is the only place where this would have even worked.
Yeah, so and even Chastain said this week in an interview he would really probably wouldn't want to do it again. So obviously, to me, that tells me, based off, we talked about this last week too, the way you could tell he was kind of shook up a little bit. It was probably a really unpleasant ride, but hey, you know what? He finished second in the playoffs last year. Yeah. So only a few seconds behind the championship, which is kind of crazy.
I would say,
Matt?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You got something else?
I was just going to say, I think the better word where I was getting at is I'm okay with it, but like I don't see I wouldn't have seen anyone else going ahead and trying it anyway.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So
kind of where I'm at.
I don't know. I don't know about that statement. I think there's some crazy guys out there in the cars, and I think they'll try it. If they could,
you think that would pull people out to try it?
Oh, 100%.
Do you think it would happen at every single Martinsville race?
I wouldn't say every single one, but I mean, I'd say that cutoff. Why not?
If you're second and you have a chance to win to get in, I mean,
if it's not illegal, obviously, okay. So jumping back onto it, general consensus here is everyone agrees. Yes, it should be an illegal move. It's something down in history. Everything's all good. Ross Chastain did it. He's always going to be known for it. It is what it is. But if it wasn't illegal, yeah, 100%. I bet you would have seen it today.
That's very possible.
I 100%
Well, I mean,
would have seen it today. Someone
have,
just drop it down an extra gear and just ride that wall.
For the Clash, though?
you have that wall opening in 3 and 4, so I don't think
Car's
it would
be
work.
wrecked anyways. I mean, every car spun out, every car took damage.
Well, I think it would. I don't think it would work at the Clash because 3 and 4 has that opening. So you would. I mean,
They
it
would
would
have at
work
least
in 1
tried
and
it.
2, but then you'd have to drive a wrecked race car back around 3 and 4, which I don't know if it would work. I'm not gonna lie, I did try it.
I don't know. There's some crazy schemes out there, man. Like I
did try it on iRacing. I did pick up a second for a lap, but it was pretty hard to get around 3 and 4. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So stages are now eliminated at road courses. So, well,
Thank
not stage.
God,
Stage
yes.
yellows are eliminated. We'll still have stages. They'll still award points, but the race will continue on just like back in the day, minus awarding points at the whatever laps they decide. I think NASCAR posted the laps, but I haven't looked. I mean, what do you think, DJ?
100% for it. Makes total sense to me. Not much else I can say. I'm totally 100% for it.
I'm with you on the same page. I think the strategy got pretty old pretty fast last year.
Every road race turned out to be exactly the same.
I feel like with 2 or 3 road courses on the schedule, it wasn't that bad. But once we got like 5 or 6, it was like, okay, this is too predictable and too old. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, it was every road course is the same, seemingly. I mean, not that they weren't bad races or they weren't exciting in some capacities, but no, I agree. I think this is going to make it way more dynamic and exciting.
So I agree. I do like that they're taking away the actual break. The only thing that I like really about it, I really don't care if it's a restart or anything like that, but I thought the caution laps and everything they would do in between there just dragged the race out.
Yeah.
I just think it made a easy 3-hour race into possibly a 4-hour race.
I mean, you had like a stage break caution was like 15 minutes.
And especially if
it's just
some tracks weren't as bad as others. Like the worst obviously was Road America.
Yeah.
That track is so big, which I like the track Road America. I actually like it even for NASCAR. That track was so big that the pace laps were just dragging the race on.
I think stage cautions killed that track because there was 100,000 people in attendance for the race, and but for TV it was not great. It was too long.
The only thing that I am going to miss about it is the restarts. And I think we all can attest the restarts are pretty wild, and that's a great part of watching the racing. So now that they are eliminating that, you're eliminating 2 restarts right off the bat.
So on the restart thing, like I love the restarts at real road courses, and I'm talking about your Sonoma, your Watkins Glen, but these tracks that we've been going to, the Roval and the Indianapolis road course. I mean, at the end, stage 3 restart, it's just chaos. It's just, literally what we saw tonight at the Clash. It's just people just literally just running each other over. You don't get that because of the dynamic layout and bank corners a little bit. You know, there's sweeping hills. You don't get that at Indy or Charlotte, not in the same way. So I think, I mean, for that aspect, I'm not going to miss stage cautions at Indy or Roval at all.
But I'm still gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss the restarts. I thought
the biggest like problem I think with the restarts is road courses already have a lot less restarts. So yeah, you're gonna probably see a lot more green like races that continue almost the whole time.
Yeah, continue green flag.
I mean, but it might be okay though. We get a lot of stages, we get a lot of restarts. We saw how many cautions and stuff. So now here's the caveat with that. I've already heard some crew chiefs talking about on Sirius XM radio and other, social media and stuff that there actually may be some pretty funky strategy like we see with the stages now, because you may still run all the way, get your stage points and pit right away, or you may split the stage, or there's a bunch of different or you may, if you know you can't win, you may go all the way and know you're gonna at least get some stage points and then pit and be half a lap down the rest of the race. So I think there should still be some funky strategy, but maybe not. But I mean, only time will tell.
Not as strategic. I mean, it got to the point where we could watch some of the road courses and know exactly who's gonna pit and who's gonna
if you needed stage points, you'd probably stay out for stage.
You know who you could pick. Exactly. You know who you could pick that was gonna go in and get points. Stage points. Who wasn't gonna go in to get other.
So that way
points.
They can make sure they won the race because wins mattered more for them. And yeah, I agreed.
On the topic of road courses, Jimmy Johnson announces he's going to run the Chicago Street Race. What do y'all think? What do you think, Matt?
That's a tricky one for me. I think the Chicago street race is going to be a very challenging race for all the drivers, with it being just 90-degree turns, and for that being one of the two that he's come out and said he's officially going to run. I don't know how that's going to play out for him. So I'm very skeptical on that race for Jimmy Johnson coming back into a new car with a new team with everything else new, and it's a new course. And I don't even think it's on iRacing yet. So
no,
it's going to be very interesting.
They ran it during COVID.
Okay, so they at least added it on there. I think we've seen, I remember seeing them do it like online, like the iRacing tournament. That was a cluster.
It was horrible. They just quit throwing yellow flags.
I think that's going to be a challenging race.
I think what's really funny,
my most polite way to say it.
The most interesting stat going into that racing, Jimmy Johnson's going to go into that race with the most street racing experience because of the IndyCar.
Absolutely ridiculous.
What do you think, Jeff?
I'm excited. Obviously, I'm biased because I love Jimmy and I've always loved Jimmy, so he's my guy. Yeah. But I think he's gonna have a slight edge. He does kind of have that ability similarly to like Kyle Larson, where he can kind of get in anything and at least run decent, or at least hold his own. Maybe not run up front. He certainly didn't do that a whole lot in IndyCar or anything like that, but he was at least able to race clean and show good maneuverability with the cars and stuff like that. So I think going into the Chicago road course, he might be a little bit of a competitor, at least with having decent equipment and good teammates and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be good. What about you, DJ?
I'm all for it. I mean, I love seeing Jimmy come back. It'll be interesting just because of the street. It'll be interesting for me because of what he's been doing in IndyCar and everything like that, coming now back again. It'll be interesting to see if that gives him an advantage and helps him. I mean, I don't know I can't say Jimmy's going to have a huge advantage over the rest of the field just because being out of NASCAR, different car, as Matt said, you're out of that, workflow, so to speak. So, you're going to have a different, you're going to have a lot of rust to knock off there. And on top of that, new car, new track. However, running IndyCar is going to give him a lot of experience with road courses, but how much is that really going to translate? If you ask Dana Kirkpatrick, she says that there's a ton of things that are similar. If you ask Clint Boyer, he's like, there's nothing, they're not close at all. So I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for it because I'm just excited to see Jimmy come back. So I'm excited in that sense. I don't know. I'm happy about it. I'm excited about it.
So, I mean, I guess while we're talking about Jimmy, we might as well just continue. Jimmy Johnson also announced today on TV, but he announced a couple of days ago that he's going to run the IMSA Le Mans race in the project or garage. What is it?
54, 51,
56,
50 something. I don't know.
Man, I can't believe I can't draw a blank on it.
Lewis, look it up.
All right. We got our boy. We need you to look up what the name of the Le Mans project is for NASCAR.
That Jimmy
project,
Johnson's
it's garage 56, I think. Anyway, so he's going to be running a modified NASCAR stock car. It's going to run at Le Mans, hopefully for the whole 24 hours. We'll find out more when the race actually runs. But Jimmy Johnson, along with a couple other guys, is going to run. I think that's pretty exciting. It's a cool NASCAR presence. I wish we would have got some more current driver involvement, but I think the NASCAR Cup schedule doesn't really allow that. But just quick thoughts. You guys like it, don't like it?
Super exciting.
56, garage 56.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stat Boy.
Stat Boy Louie.
Stat
Man Louie. Really exciting. I mean, Le Mans, if you're a racing fan of any kind, grew up playing games, things like that, Le Mans is kind of a big deal. And that's just really exciting to bring our sport that we're a big fan of and allow some of these drivers from this discipline to try something new.
Yeah, I'm excited for them, getting their foot in Le Mans and just being able to have a presence there. I think it's going to help out the fan base, really bring fans each way. Fans are going to, from NASCAR side, is going to go over to that side and they're going to switch on over. So I think that's going to be great.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's good for more so. I think it's going to help. I think it's better help to NASCAR than it is to, the Le Mans series. I think it's going to help NASCAR get out to the more international presence. And that's one of the reasons why I like what Trackhouse was doing and stuff like that, bringing Kimi Räikkönen in and stuff like that at Watkins Glen. Like, I think bringing in drivers of different disciplines and branching out into other racing divisions and stuff like that and bringing it together, I think that's always going to be good to give people an idea of, what NASCAR can kind of be like. Obviously, it's not not a direct comparison, but it at least gives people an idea of, wow, man, maybe I need to check this out.
Yeah. So part of me hopes, obviously IMSA, if you don't know, is owned by NASCAR. So I'm hoping this is a future endeavor to where maybe even in the Rolex 24, maybe there's eventually a NASCAR class that's added.
That would be cool.
That would be
awesome.
That would be so cool.
Super
and
cool.
Dude, this Garage 56 car looks
insane.
Looks
awesome.
All the downforce
It even has
parts
headlights.
they put on it.
I don't know if you've seen that, but they've been making a big deal about that.
Yes,
I watched
it looks
a clip
amazing.
from a trailer of it, and it's
It
pretty
does.
slick, dude.
They showed it.
It's
I mean,
kinda
it
sick.
looks really good. I'm not gonna lie, like it looks
I kind of hope
really
they have a
good.
prototype or something like that, maybe at Daytona. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
man,
yeah,
I
that'd be
wish.
kinda
I
cool,
wonder
huh?
if they opened up that test they did last week to the public. Man, I would love to have gone to that. We're local to Daytona, so we can get there pretty quick. All right, so next thing we got, we'll kind of hit some of these really quick, but we'll just go through them. Damaged vehicle policy goes from 6 minutes to 7 minutes for the season. Give me a reaction, DJ.
I don't think it's a huge change. So
My opinion on it, I don't really like it. I wish they would get away with the damaged vehicle policy. I think we would just go back to it. I don't like crew guys all jumping over the wall trying to rush, trying to fix a car. We saw a couple years ago where they threw a Sawzall from pit road, from the pit box across the car. We don't need that. I wish they would allow the teams to go back, fix the cars, and allow them to get the most out of their points day. I wish we would get away from that. At a minimum, I wish we would go to the 10-minute like they did in the playoffs. I don't understand why we have a playoff 10-minute, but regular season 7. Like, it should be one number. It's too much. It changes too much. I wish we would just get rid of it regardless.
I'm on the same page as Jake. I just think we should just do away with it altogether for the same exact reasons. No need to.
I think with a spec car, like, they made the rule because cars would come out heavily damaged, heavily repaired, and they would throw out debris. I think with a spec car, that's like, it's a kit car. You just build it out of parts. I just don't think you're gonna have that issue of fabricated custom pieces, a lot of welds. Like, I just don't think you have that anymore with this car, and I just wish we'd get rid of it. Matt, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, kind of on the same boat there. If anything, I think they, to be honest, should make it shorter. I think it should go down about 5 minutes.
You like it?
Yeah. I just think, so here's my thought about it. My thought about it is, if the car's heavily damaged, they should not be working on it in pit road. They should take it to the back and be able to fix it in the garage, in my opinion, obviously. I don't think they should have 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 minutes to fix it on pit road. How many times did we see accidents occur where cars were flying through pit road?
Yeah.
It kind of jumps on your point of view, saying it's a safety hazard. If there's a damaged vehicle, take it to the back, let them have their clock or whatever they need to do, and then either call it or don't.
I think and if you're in a crew chief next to a box where somebody's working on a car, if they're performing a pit stop, you know their sequence, you know what they're gonna do, right? Yeah. But if they're working on it, you don't. They're not in their normal position.
You don't know they're going to throw a Sawzall at you.
They could have tools there. I just don't like it. It seems unnecessary. I have it in the notes, but I don't know if we'll go over it because I don't have all the detail of the rules. But you also have like this new rule, the way you got to enter and exit the pit boxes. We'll have to see more of that at Daytona. When we get a better idea of what the rules look like.
I mean, last year there was a lot of incidences on pit road between people getting flustered and hitting each other, materials out of the pit stops, people flying down due to, avoiding accidents. People hitting pit road walls. Like, just in my opinion, if there's a damaged vehicle and it's heavily damaged, like you got to cut something off or tape something up, I think it would just be safer, pull it to the back, let them do their clock. There's officials everywhere. They can give them the 10 minutes. They can give them 5 minutes. I don't think it really matters as far as time. They're still going to be laps down. But I think as far as the safety concern, they should pull them to the back.
For sure.
Yeah. I agree. All right, the next item we got is wet weather package and lights on the rear end of the car for a handful of short tracks. I know Bristol and Dover are eliminated from this. I mean, Dover's not really a short track, but
semantics.
NASCAR says if it's a mile or less, it's a short track. I mean, Phoenix don't race like a short track either, but whatever. That's a different debate.
But that's an entirely different discussion.
But I think the Clash, which turned out to be not an issue. But we got New Hampshire, Martinsville, Phoenix, which I mean, when was the last time it rained in Phoenix? Whatever. So you got a handful of tracks.
Every once in a while.
They have added to the wet weather package for short tracks. They said they won't race in heavy rain, but they'll basically get the track
fair.
about halfway dry, no standing water, and drop the rag. Thoughts, Jeff? What do you think?
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to kind of see how these cars race with that package. I mean, I don't know too much about it, actually. I haven't done too much reading on it, so it sounds cool.
I'm about it. I'm all about it just for a new element to the race. They definitely had issues with rain during the road courses. I think we all saw I want to say it was Coda, where Kevin Harvick ran into the back of... it was one of them. There was a horrible, horrible wreck on the back. I almost jumped out of my seat. I thought someone...
It was super scary.
I know Truex was involved in a really bad one where he was...
Yeah, I think it might have been Cole Custer or someone.
Yeah, there you go.
Cole Custer just ran into the back. So if NASCAR wants to entertain the idea of racing in the rain, then I think this is something that definitely should be added.
NASCAR, if it's a light rain, like what we saw at Watkins, then fine. If it's pouring like Coda or that Xfinity race at Charlotte... Why is NASCAR trying to look stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous,
If they're
man.
going to try it, though, try to make it as safe as possible.
I mean, at least they said with a short track package, they won't race in the pouring rain. I think here's what I like about it. They said they won't race in the pouring rain. They won't race in any rain. They'll literally dry the track halfway and go. I think there may be a learning curve. So it may even take a race or two before drivers kind of figure it out. I could see a lot of spin outs at first. But I think eventually, like the road courses, they'll figure it out. They'll clean it up. Because now you see these guys on wet weather tires. I mean, they drive like awesome. Yeah. Like they've been doing it for a long time. And it only took a race or two for them to figure it out. So
yeah, I'm totally for it. Hey, just try something. It's hard when you have friends that are into Formula One and they're like, well, man, we can race in the rain. Why can't y'all? Like, and it's like, well, it's a little different, but just. So I'm all for it.
I would say, but Formula One raced in a pouring rain race last year, and it was like ridiculous.
Yeah,
and a car almost hit track workers.
Yeah,
it was totally ridiculous. I mean, motorsports does not belong in the pouring rain.
No, I'm totally for it. I think if nothing else, it's good so races don't run long, because instead of taking an hour and a half to dry a track, they may only take them 45 minutes to dry the track, and then we're going to start running out of so it's going to help watching it on TV. You're going to have less postponed races for that. So I think in those senses too, it's also really good. So yeah, I'm 100% for it. So let's try it.
Thinking about that, how long would it take for NASCAR to call a race now? Like say you're at a small track.
If you get the track dry in 45 minutes, I think it totally changes the game.
Right, but if they think, well, we could dry it a little bit and see if it gets ready, and then it's not ready, and then it rains again, but we can dry it half time now. Like, I don't know. I was just thinking,
I think it changes
the dynamic.
I think it would change that, because it's like when you lose a track, you lose the track, and they'll be, hey, we're gonna race tomorrow at this time, or we're gonna everyone head on home.
Depends on the forecast too, and lights.
New Hampshire doesn't. I mean, we've seen the track. Those showers pop up in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the course. Yeah. Like down here in Florida, obviously they're like Daytona, and you're never going to see this kind of package at like a super speedway.
No, there's no way.
I mean, we saw what happened when just a slight mist got on the track.
I mean, Daytona. The
whole field wrecks. So right. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see this in a super speedway. This is just limited races. So I have no problem. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one. Top 30 in points requirement for championship eligibility has been removed. The Truck Series top points requirements are also removed. We'll focus on the Cup right now. Tell me what you think. Matt?
I'm about it. I think it gives everyone a fair play field, win and you're in kind of scenario.
Yeah, you're about it?
Yeah, I think there's not much to say about it. I want to see, obviously, how it plays out throughout the year. But yeah, I think
the requirement for full-time driving, like you still have to run the full season unless you get a medical waiver.
Part-time or stuff like that.
Yeah, so you still got to race full-time.
But it says if you do get a win, or say you get that Daytona win or that Talladega run, you get that super speedway, but you're still super low on points, like it still kind of gets you in there. So, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I think that if you are competitive enough to win a race at any capacity, whether it be a super speedway, which I feel like for a backmarker team, a lower budget team, I think a super speedway is going to be your best bet for a win most of the time. But with the next gen car being an equalizer as it has been, if you were to get a win at, let's say, 1.5 miles or a short track or a road course or something like that,
road course is what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you can get a win, then I think you deserve to move on. But we didn't see a whole lot last year. Even with as many winners as we had last year, there was not a lot of lower budget teams.
You almost had Corey LaJoy at Atlanta. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
I think this is the Corey LaJoy rule. And I think it comes down to, I mean, they advertise it. They've said it forever. You're winning, you're in. You're winning, you're in. Oh, asterisk.
You have to be
By
X
the way,
number of.
if you are risking not being top 30 in points, you're not in. It's bullcrap. If you run the full season, you win a race. If this is the format and asterisk going to stick to, you should be allowed to get in.
Something that makes me think about.
I like it.
Maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm naive on this. So like Brad last year, what happens if Brad wins a race last year? With all his point problems, wasn't he below the cutoff?
I think he was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was out.
So Brad, you have Brad, a past champion. He wins a race, and you say, "Sorry, you're not in the playoff."
That's trash, bro.
That's messed up. So I think for that reason too. Yeah, no, I think
this is the reason why I'm willing to fight for it, and a lot of people feel differently. But the super speedways are a skill set. You see the same guys up front and winning these races.
Yeah,
you don't see a bunch of randoms. You see your Michael McDowell's who won the 500. He's always up there. Right? You see your Chase Elliott won Talladega and Atlanta.
Bubba's
and
always
runs
Bubba's
good.
always
Bubba Watt, dude is destined to win a 500. He's always a Daytona 500. He's always there.
Denny Hamlin,
3 500s. Ryan Blaney. I mean, it's the same dozen, 20 guys that are really good at it that got a shot at winning. So I think it's a legitimate skill set that should be rewarded if you win.
I agree.
If you win a rain-shortened race at New Hampshire, is that race illegitimate? Of course not. You won the race.
Especially now with the next gen, it's a lot more skill in the driver's hand.
I think one race win is not enough this year.
No.
I think we see.
It was
I've
close
heard some
last
other
year.
People saying like 12 wins or 12 different winners. I think we see 16 or more.
Really?
I think it's going to be very similar to
I
last
do
year,
too. Bro,
too.
look at RCR. Dude, they're hot, bro. Look at JGR. Truex didn't win last year, bro. That coming out the gun. They look good.
Came out swinging.
Hendrick Motorsports showed up tonight. I think the car is going to be really different. They changed some of the aero stuff. I think the parity is going to be even higher, and it's all going to be about who can load off the truck and be fast. You don't have 3 hours of practice like we used to, where you could dial it in.
So sad.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, the next one I got is the choose rule now at super speedways and Bristol Dirt. I'll start this one off. I think I love it. I love it for Bristol Dirt. That's an easy one. I think that's great. I think for super speedways, it's going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be really awesome and make restarts even better, or we're going to see a Stewart-Haas Talladega thing where teammates line up and take advantage of it. It could go one of either way. It could go both. I'm not really sure. But I think I like it. I want to see it. I want to try it, and we'll see. I mean, the last couple super speedways, like especially the 500, the way they kind of shake out and the way people play lines or play games with the lines, you see a line take off and they get single file immediately on like a green, white checker, right? So I think if you can pick your line and pick who you want to be with, I think we maybe see some of that eliminated. But at the same time, if you have a teammate and you can take advantage of that, stringing it out, I mean, maybe not. But I think that only time will tell on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna make Bristol Dirt awesome.
I do too.
Really?
I think I do.
You don't think so?
No,
I'll get my side.
No, I think it's gonna make Bristol Dirt awesome, of course. But as far as super speedways, yeah, I mean, it could be a fun rule. I think you'd be silly as a team to not exploit that rule. But there is something about not having the choose rule at the super speedways I do like, because it kind of funnels drivers into having to work with certain drivers and having to make the best of whatever situation you're in. I think that's kind of like a little charm that the super speedways have always had. But I think this is going to add a new layer, and I think it might make it a little more fun. So what do you think, Matt?
All right. So starting off with the super speedways, I'm about it because it's going to bring a little bit more chaos to the mix, and I'm always about that. Adds a little bit more entertaining factor to the races.
Brad can choose who he's not going to lift for in front of him.
Who he can push. So I think it's going to be a little bit more fun there. As far as thinking about it, like towards like Dirt Bristol, I don't really see it making a big difference, in my opinion, because it takes only about 1 or 2 laps, and they're going to be single file anyways. Dirt Bristol, you're not really looking at the aerodynamics. You're not really looking at who you're going to stack up with. I mean, yeah, you might get 1 or 2 extra spots up there, or you might be able to say, hey, I start better on the top. I can run better on the top. I'm going to choose the top. But I just don't see it making a big difference. And the only thing I really want to see is I don't want it to be painted on the dirt. I want a cone out there on a string. So when they go around, they all make it past the cone.
I don't know how they can do it.
They're pulling that string.
So you're saying
something like
that? You just do it like the old school, like mic in a ring thing, where the mic just comes down out of the ceiling.
I mean, obviously they're not going to be able to paint it. I'm curious how they're going to do that.
I'm wondering the same thing.
Bring back the cones, man. That was the best
That's
part
so
of
old
watching
school.
Daytona.
So I'm actually with Matt. Totally for the speedways. I think it's going to be interesting, and I don't think it'll make a huge difference for Bristol.
I think for Bristol, though, the only reason why I think it may make a difference, if they track prep right, there should be a preferred groove, and that bottom could be bottom or top could be depending on which lane.
But I also think it's good, just to take it in another direction. I think it's good for new fans because now it's something that's more consistent.
It's consistent.
Because the thing is there's already so many rules with NASCAR. It's really hard to get into.
Dirt Bristol is just such a.
We've got so many friends of ours that are like jumping into NASCAR, and they've been with us now for like a year and a half, and they still are like, wait, what are we? And it's common stuff that we've figured out, but they're like, yeah, what's this? And it's like, oh yeah,
there's no doubt more consistency and stuff like this
is much easier to get into and explain. So I think it's good for that little side, just to throw that in there. But I don't think it'll make a difference for Bristol. I'm for it for speedways. Otherwise, I'm cool with it.
Next one I got is the restart zone will be enlarged. They're going to try it for the first 5 races, starting with the Clash. They're going to go 50% in each direction, right? So it'll double. It'll get 50% bigger, and it'll go 25% in each direction. The drivers asked for this because they want more control over restarts. I don't see how this is not a good thing, because too many restart games were happening. Judging by what I saw tonight, you could really see a big difference on how they controlled restarts, and the leader was able to get a pretty good advantage. And I think the leader deserves that and earns that by being the leader.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think it's 100% a good idea. And if nothing else, try it, and it doesn't work, okay, put it back to normal. I don't see really a downside.
Yeah, quick take. If it makes the races better, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that if you are the leader going into a caution, especially one that was not caused by you or was not your fault, I think that having that extra 50% is going to allow the leader to have that slight advantage that they've earned by being the leader or starting on the pole or whatever. So, yeah.
The last major rule change, there's a couple other small ones, but the last major one for the Cup Series is they put mufflers on the Cup cars for the Clash. They will also be doing this probably for the Chicago Street Course. We went to a handful of races. I didn't think the cars were obnoxiously loud, in my opinion. We were wearing headphones and listening to radios, but I kind of liked it. I thought they sounded really good. We didn't see it in a stadium. We didn't see it in a Bristol environment. Perhaps it's different, but I don't know that I really like it, man. Loud race cars are super exciting to me. The more you can feel it, the more I love it. I heard it takes it down about 10B. They say it's closer to what the Gen 6 was, but I noticed a big difference on TV, man. The Cup cars are quiet. Maybe that's just Fox's mix, but I could feel it, and it wasn't. The cars didn't feel as exciting on TV.
Yeah, likewise with that comment. I also noticed, I felt like it was a very significant difference on TV watching it here all together. It was not as zoomy, for lack of better words. You didn't hear zoomy. Feel the zooms going by. You didn't get all the nyams going by.
All I'm gonna say is Fox did their crank it up thing, and it literally
that was the quietest crank it up I've ever heard.
That was weird. It didn't sound didn't sound right.
Did anyone feel like they were hearing like electrical sounds when they were like accelerating?
Yes, I think we're hearing the transmission now.
Yeah,
you think that's what
I think we're hearing the transaxle whining.
I heard something, but I hadn't put it together what it was.
Almost like a supercharger is kind of sound.
Sort of.
But I'd be willing to bet it's the transaction.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to look at it. You know, obviously NASCAR thought the sound of the vehicles were too much, and if they're going to be going into more urban areas or more city areas, that they need to control that, which rightfully so. You know, people live in Chicago. Some of them probably didn't sign up for a NASCAR race in the summer, especially on 4th of July. So
right.
As a NASCAR fan, I like the loud engines. I like hearing it. I like being a part of it and feeling it. But there's also people trying to work in the city, I assume, that weekend. You know, and the last thing they need to hear for probably a 4-hour race is those cars driving through the city. So I can see why they do it. I can also see if they do end up taking it to other tracks like Bristol. Bristol is loud as hell. You know, and there's a lot of kids that go to Bristol, and the safety aspect for the kids, granted they can have hearing protection, and you know, NASCAR does a great way of providing it for free. You just get the headsets, anyone under 12, all that kind of good stuff. But again, from the safety aspect of it, I think it's a good idea lowering it, but the NASCAR fan of me, I don't like it. I hope they at least keep it wide open for the bigger, more open events so that we don't have to worry about it.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's some great points.
Again, I look out for the younger fans, the people.
Nah, man, they gotta learn.
No, man. Like,
just kidding.
They don't need to be 13 with hearing aids. Like, the cars are loud.
I think I'm with you. I think I as a fan, I don't like it, but I think if it opens up the possibility of more interesting races and more interesting tracks, then I think that that's a good thing. So if that means we got to have mufflers on to have cool new tracks or cool, new stuff, I'm about it.
There's one other thing I'd like to talk about, but I think we save it for. There's one other rule change that came out, or not rule change, but update. Fontana announced that they will not have a race in 2024. I think we save that. We'll talk about that when we go to Fontana here in a couple of weeks. But it's kind of not really excited about that.
Kind of a bummer. Really like that track.
We'll move into our last segment here, which is the next week's race preview, which is not next week, but the week after, which is the Daytona 500. Obviously pretty exciting. That's our local racetrack.
Yeah, boy.
Which is it's pretty good local racetrack.
yeah. If you're going to have one, that's a good one to have.
That's the one to have, yeah, for sure.
Me, Matt, and Jeff will be down there for 11 days. That'll be pretty exciting. The rest of the squad will join us the next week, and we'll all watch the racing together. But any kind of takes, previews, thoughts, what you guys are looking forward to, what you're thinking?
100% think Jimmy's going to walk away with it.
Oh, bro, I'd be so fired. Oh my God.
I have no idea.
Living the dream, eh?
And now it's been out there in recording for everyone to call me out if I'm wrong. But no, I mean, I don't think I have anything specific. Honestly, I'm just like super excited. Daytona is always a fun track. It's always a good race. It always comes down to the wire at the end. All super speedways kind of do that. But the only thing I hope for is I hope it's a situation where we have more than about 10 cars left on the last lap. I hope it's still a pretty full field. But yeah, I'm totally excited for it. Like I said, Daytona is always a good race, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, Daytona's always a good time in every capacity. I mean, just the experience of being there in the camping site and just like getting to spend time with your homies and doing all that stuff. It's just a vibe. But the actual racing, I mean, from the duels to the truck race, which is always one of the best races of the year, to the Xfinity race, and then finally ending it with the 500 on Sunday. Man, I'm just fired up. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So what about you, Maddie?
I mean, 500, Brad. It's gonna happen.
Brad.
There ain't no doubt in my
He's
mind, man.
due, man.
He showed up. He had to show up to the Clash just to say he was there. You know, he had to do his
like every
thing. He
crown
had to make an
jewel.
appearance. You know, leave
He's
early.
digging.
Doesn't he have like
You
every
know.
crown jewel except for
Yeah,
500?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. So I'm just gonna be rooting for Brad. You know,
We
I
know
think.
drive. We
That'd be
know.
awesome. I think there's a couple. I mean, Brad or Kyle Busch finally getting one that's owed to him after so many years
Yeah.
would be pretty awesome.
You
I think
only
we're
root for Kyle
due
Busch
for like
'cause
a
he's in a Chevy now.
storybook. You know,
Yeah. I'm still holding out for the Melon Man.
You
That'd
know,
be
it's a
sick.
good-
That'd
he's
be
got to get
sick.
to the end though. Here's the problem with
Hey,
getting to the end.
hey, man, he was there at Talladega.
We know
This
Matt's
is true.
We know Matt's
He
fantasy
won
picks.
Talladega, right?
Yeah.
So he's proven he can get it done. He ran great at Atlanta last year too.
Pick
We
Brad
know Matt's
4 times.
fantasy picks are just gonna be Brad. Brad.
Brad.
Brad.
Brad.
I only need Brad.
It'll
I
be
don't need
number 1, Brad. Number 2, Keselowski. Number 3, Brad Keselowski.
number 4.
Bad
Christopher
Brad.
Busher.
Christopher Busher.
I
Yeah.
think what's got me the most excited about Daytona is we're taking Lewis. He went with us in August. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
due to the rain
boy.
delay, he missed the 400. He had to go to work. But the Daytona 500 this year will be his first Daytona 500, first Cup race at Daytona. It's going to be awesome. Super excited about it.
Fortunately, he's a Kyle fan for some reason. At least he's diehard.
Yeah.
I respect it.
I think this year is going to be. I mean, I think they went all out last year, but I think we see it even more this year. They know they got backup cars. They know they're ready.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've had plenty of time to work on these cars. We've
They
seen a
have
bunch of pictures of
statistics.
teams already got them all ready to go. So I think the duels are likely to be. They could go either way. I mean, if you got a bunch of cars racing, trying to race their way in, like your Jimmys and stuff, the duels could be pretty exciting, like mid-pack back. But I mean, it's just hard to say. The duels could be awesome. They could be pretty mellow. One could be great. One could be mellow. Who knows? And I think the 500 is going to be amazing this year. The Xfinity race and the truck race never disappoint. We got Frankie Muniz in the ARCA race this year. That's going to be a
That'd be
fun
cool.
storyline to watch, see how he does this year. But I mean, really, the season kicks off today, but it really kicks off next week. Or not next, the week after next. But yeah, any final thoughts about the 500?
No, we're just gonna go. We're gonna party. We're gonna have fun and watch Brad win it.
Yeah, with that being said, we won't have a podcast next week since we'll be down there and we'll have too many different people in various places from LA to the beaches of Daytona to the hills of Central Florida. So
The hills.
there won't be a
the one
podcast next week.
There's only one hill, but like
hill,
still
the hill.
the hill.
The
is-
hill.
But we plan
The
on
low.
recording our Daytona 500 podcast probably the day after the 500 on the Monday when we get back. But any closing thoughts?
Nah, man, just
No,
super
we're
excited.
Yeah,
Charge
I
the
was
sucker
stoked.
up.
super excited to get to Daytona. Get back to the season. Definitely. What?
You're not going. What you talking about?
Yo.
Get back to Daytona. Like watch. I'm talking about watching it.
Oh,
Hey man,
Get back.
DJ could show up.
Listen, you don't
I'm
know.
telling you.
I might go
Hey,
come
yo,
skydiving
yo,
out of a
pull
helicopter
up,
or
pull
something.
up.
pull up.
Pull up.
Pull up. Yeah,
up.
pull up.
You know where we would
No, I think I'm just excited to get back to, sorry, I will rephrase because I'll make sure I'm just excited to watch Daytona.
be.
There, you feel better? now?
Fact.
Yes,
Don't worry, I'll send you guys all the slow motion clips so that way you guys can see what's happening. Like,
Oh yeah.
I've done that before where like I didn't get a chance to go to a race and they're watching it and I'm like, oh my gosh, watch this wreck, and like filmed it in slow motion
Sends
for
us
you.
the replay.
DJ
Yeah.
is our resident guy at the keyboard. He's the
Yeah.
guy behind the scenes.
The man in the chair.
Man in the chair. That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
Thank you.
Well, that's it. We'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you
Later, y'all.
guys.